Hey guys, hope you're well. Welcome back. I was thinking the other day actually that when Schuster and Siegel created the character of Superman back in 1933, I am almost pretty sure that's the date. But anyhow, 1933. Let's stick with that. When they created Superman, I don't think they would have had any idea, any notion of what a huge cultural global impact this character was going to have. And it has been a huge global cultural impact. Listen, he's a part of Americana as we know it, a very integral part of Americana. And not only that, but he's pretty much known around the world. I mean, chances are, let's pick a country, Bolivia, right? The average Bolivian may or may not be aware of their local politicians, but I can guarantee, almost guarantee, that they will be aware of Superman. The costume, possibly the Clark Kent alter ego, the backstory, Krypton. I think a lot of people in any country. Let's pick another one. Ecuador. How about Bangladesh? I don't know. Ethiopia. Look, pick a country. Any Brazil, any Russia, any country. I'm pretty sure that they would have heard of Superman, and that is amazing, amazing. And Superman basically is he's like a demigod, isn't he? He's like Norse, Greek, world mythology really brought crashing into the 20th century, and then by extension into the 21st century, to the masses. I'm not saying that people worship at the altar of Superman. That would be weird. But the point is that he is an iconic character. Um, and a lot of people, I suppose, when they read the comics and they strive to be a better person. Perhaps a lot of people look at the character traits of Superman uh, to be that better person. I suppose some people look at Batman, right, to as the ultimate sort of like iconic character to sort of like emulate in your everyday life, right? Who doesn't want to be a billionaire, drive fancy cars, and have a butler, and live in a mansion, and I don't know, wear a cowl and a cape at night and go and beat up bad people. I mean, that last part, I think many people would probably try to avoid. But the lifestyle of Bruce Wayne, I think a lot of people would definitely love to be a part of. But there are people out there who would actually go the opposite way and sort of like want to be someone like Clark Kent, you know, good, honest, decent, hardworking farm boy who just wants to help out wherever he can, wherever he can. Yeah, and I think that there are two camps, of light and slightly darker sort of hue, the Batman camp and the Superman Clark Kent camp. But anyway, whichever camp you fall into, let's concentrate on Superman right now. Because he's such an iconic character, there have been obvious copycats. Well, copycats perhaps is a slightly unkind word. Clone, homage, tributes. There have been many, that's a good word. There have been many tributes to this character. Uh, and one company more than others that has done a plethora of tributes is Marvel Comics. Now, there's so many Marvel tributes that I could spend a long time, and I think people would just get bored and switch off. So I'm going to stick to maybe three or four in this video, and then just decide which one I think is the best one. So let's begin. Gladiator is one of the better known versions of the Marvel Superman. There are many, but the Gladiator happens to be one of the eminent ones out there. He is a praetor of the Shi'ar Imperial sort of guard. I think that means he's like a champion of the empire or something. And yeah, he's got the classic Superman power set, right? Flight, invulnerability, super strength, heat vision, super cold ice breath, um, flight. In case I didn't mention it, obviously from the picture you can see he's flying. So yeah, flight is a very obvious one, and it's interesting. It's interesting. Whereas Clark Kent, Superman, they have a aversion, a weakness to kryptonite. With the Gladiator, there's no obvious substance to which he is vulnerable, but he does have one major psychological vulnerability, and that is that his powers are based on his level. The extent of his powers are based on his level of self-confidence. So that's very interesting, actually. That's a very, very interesting take on a character. So the more confident he feels at any given time, the more powerful he becomes. the less confident he's feeling about a particular, I don't know, aspect of a opponent or a fight or whatever, the less powerful his power base gets weakened with his lack of confidence. And that's very, very interesting. That really is. I suppose it's a great play on the whole notion of the human psyche, right? The human condition. Oftentimes, you'll see people with great skill but very low confidence, and they usually end up, with nothing. And then you see people with, I suppose, mediocre sort of skill set but extreme confidence, and people like that usually end up getting very far. And I suppose the Gladiator, in some strange intellectual way, is like a reflection of the human condition. So for that, I would say, well done, Marvel. Very interesting. But the similarities. Oh, no, no, no. There's more. There's more. In terms of similarities, I mean, first of all, let's just make it clear that this character was created during Chris Claremont's run on the X-Men. As I understand it, he is meant to be like one of those major sort of antagonists for the X-Men. Of course, he's been involved in battles with many other characters throughout the years. Another interesting point to note is that the name of the Gladiator, his proper name, as it were, civilian identity, is Kallark, Kallark, which is, for anyone who knows anything about the character of Superman, it's an obvious mishmash between Clark Kent and Kal-El. I mean, as far as homage or tribute goes, that's a very obvious one. But here's the interesting thing. From what I understand from my research into this character, he isn't really based on Superman, even though his name is Kallark and he has Superman powers. He's more so based on another character called Mon-El that was taken from the Legion of Superheroes, another title by DC. And Mon-El is a Daxamite, another alien race who share very similar powers with those of Superman or Kryptonians on Earth. Their weakness is not kryptonite. I believe their weakness is lead, if I remember correctly. So that's pretty interesting. But still, I suppose Daxamites are offshoot of the Kryptonians, and so Mon-El would be like a supporting character of Superman in one way or the other. And so there's still that Superman connection, right? Anyone who has Superman-like powers, if you copy that character, you're still kind of copying Superman by extension. And so, yeah, that's really it's a very interesting character that Marvel has created. But of course, apart from the power set that a Gladiator possesses, the similarities between him and Superman kind of just stop dead there. A Boy Scout, the Gladiator is not, by any definition of the term. And certainly, this character lacks the warmth and the approachability of Superman. He's just a stone cold soldier of the Imperial Shi'ar Empire, and his prime objective is not truth, justice, and the galactic way to help everyone. His prime objective is to help the Shi'ar Empire alone. So yeah, very much sort of like a one sort of like tunnel vision character. This character, still impressive character, one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel universe, and yeah, Gladiator. Now Hyperion has to be the closest Superman clone that Marvel basically possesses. He has the same alien origins, last survivor of a faraway distant planet, who is sent to Earth, and he's looked after by a nice, loving, kind, caring family, and he grows up to be Mark Milton. And the moniker that he shares is that the moniker that he's given is that he is the greatest hero of Earth 712. So not the classic Marvel Earth, but sort of like another multiversal Earth 712. And he's a member of the Squadron Supreme. Now, the similarities, I mean, come on, by this stage, you must be thinking Superman Justice League, and you would be correct, because basically the Squadron Supreme is, and it's a copy of the Justice League. So, I mean, this is the most obvious, obvious Marvel Superman that there is. Now, to be fair, this was retconned down the road, where Hyperion was no longer like a survivor of an alien planet. He was in fact an Eternal. Why Marvel did that, only Marvel know. Perhaps is to get away from the sort of accusation rising that this is a complete ripoff. I mean, it is a complete ripoff, but history is there. He was Mark Milton, an alien before he became the Eternal. So it is what it is. Now, much like Superman uses solar radiation to get his powers, Hyperion uses cosmic radiation to get his powers, and he has similar powers to Superman: super strength, flight, stamina, speed, atomic vision, which is basically heat vision, etc., etc. And much like Superman's aversion to kryptonite, Hyperion's weakness lies in the substance known as argonite. So, God, yeah, it's so obvious that it's not even funny. But look, and it's quite funny in a way that, excuse me, when there was a battle between Hyperion and the aforementioned Gladiator, even though Hyperion is the most obvious clone of Superman in Marvel Universe, guess who won the fight? It was Gladiator. Gladiator, in fact, won headily. He broke Hyperion's back. Is that Marvel's way of saying that if one of our strongest characters got in touch with one of your strongest characters, our character Gladiator would win? I mean, is that a slap in the face? Is it trying to be? I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too deeply into this, but you can't deny the fact that Hyperion is the closest clone, and he got beaten by Gladiator. So maybe that is Marvel's way of saying, screw you. But anyway, maybe I'm looking too deeply into it. But yeah, Hyperion, pretty cool character, and of course he would be cool because he's a copy of Superman. That's right. Who's the coolest anyway? But yeah, Hyperion. There you go. Oh, and I should mention that he was created by Roy Thomas and John Buscema. So a little tidbit of information there to complete the info on Hyperion. Right, let's move on. Right then, the Sentry is one of the, if not, well, is he the most powerful sort of non-cosmic entity character of Marvel? Could be. I think he's definitely up there. Created by Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee. Robert Reynolds, the alter ego of the Sentry, was basically a meth addict who stole an advanced version of the super soldier serum. And when he consumed this serum, it basically gave him the power of wait for it, 1,000 exploding suns. I don't know. How do you even calculate that? That's a lot of power, man. That's a lot of power. Anyway, 1,000 exploding suns. So, along with the creation of the Sentry, there was a alter ego of the Sentry called the Void. That's like this dark, evil creature that basically strengthens the Sentry, makes him more powerful, but also messes up his psyche. Right? It turns him evil, basically. And this is as a result of the meth addiction that Robert had. It just messed up his mind, and basically you're giving some guy who is a really messed up drug addict the power of a demigod. So yeah, that's that's really interesting. I mean, Marvel seems to have this fascination for like really dark, super powered characters, like really dark versions of Superman. I mean, I know there's a really dark version of Superman in DC itself with the Injustice universe, where Superman goes completely dark and bonkers after Lois gets killed by the Joker, right? But Marvel, just as a rule, seems to create these really dark, hyper powered characters that are like these like almost sort of, I mean, I suppose the kind way would be to say stoic versions of Superman, right? But they're kind of borderline evil, let's face facts. I mean, the Sentry definitely is a very messed up character, very messed up. But there's no denying how powerful this guy is. I remember in a battle between him and Ares, the god of war, he basically ripped Ares in two. I mean, literally just ripped him apart. Um, Although it can be argued that Thor is a more powerful character, and of course, sometimes people argue that Thor was actually Marvel's first version of Superman. Uh, but he wasn't an obvious copy, right? He was taken from Norse mythology anyway, and I haven't included Thor in this list for that reason. But the Sentry, yes. Now the Sentry's power is derived from like molecular manipulation, as it were. He can control sort of matter in a way. So that means that his power is like almost limitless. He can have any power that he wants. He can kind of do whatever he wants, which is pretty intense. Although having said that, in the World War Hulk issue when the Hulk was going on a berserker rage on planet Earth, he had a fight with the Sentry and he kind of beat the Sentry. But I think the Sentry was beaten at that time because he kind of wanted to be beaten, right? I think if he genuinely went all out, if he genuinely wanted to win, I think he could have. I mean, you give the guy the power of 1,000 exploding suns, make him almost limitless in his power set, and then you have him get beaten by the Hulk. And I understand that the Hulk, the angrier he gets, the stronger he gets. But I mean, how much anger does he actually have? Anyway, is this an inconsistency or is it like whatever it is? So the Sentry, yeah, the Sentry, Dark Sentry is like a more powerful version where Robert Reynolds accepts the void and they become this one being. But yeah, I suppose at the moment, the Sentry is probably the most recognizable copies of Superman. But man, this is one dark character. And I suppose that apart from the immense power that this character has, there is really no other similarity between him and Superman. Superman is pure goodness, humility, light, you know, lovely, caring, guy down the road, really. Whereas the Sentry is just this really messed up, hyper-powered weirdo dude who could wipe out the planet and hasn't yet. Although one could argue that the Void has tried too many times. So yeah, very depressing character. Sentry is a very depressing character. And as far as Superman homages go, I would give this a 2 out of 10, if that. But yeah, very powerful character, no doubt about it. Captain America. Oh, what can I say about this character? Well, whatever I can say about the character is good because he truly is, I think, one of the greatest creations of Marvel ever. And even though he's Captain America, I think the great thing about this character is that he represents the ideal of what America should be. Goodness, caring, kindness, caring about others, putting others before yourself. Not just America first, as it were, but genuinely this idea that Captain America is there for everyone. Whoever needs Captain America, he's there. Now that might not necessarily be Americans who need Captain America. It might be, I don't know, might be Egyptians who need Captain America. But I think he's the kind of character who would put. I think that he would put common sense and human decency above blind patriotism. I think that's what Captain America would do, and this is why he is such a fantastic, absolutely fantastic character. And I truly believe this. I think that Chris Evans' rendition of Captain America in the MCU has to be up there with the greats. I mean, I think that aside from Christopher Reeve's rendition of Superman, Chris Evans, Captain America, has to be one of the greatest on-screen personifications of a superhero that I have ever seen. He's so, I mean, he's perfect. The MCU characterization of Captain America is absolutely perfect, and I think in many respects, all these other superpowered beings that I have mentioned before pale in comparison when you think of a direct personality perspective of a Superman clone. I think Captain America wins hands down. He genuinely, to me, and I think to many others around the world, and to certainly to comic book fans, I think when you think about Superman, and then you think about the closest character in terms of personality that represents Superman in the Marvel Universe, I think everyone would say is Captain America. Captain America is a character that doesn't back down in the face of evil, always puts others before himself, and even though he has the super serum coursing through his vein and is physically superior to the average human being, right? Absolutely superior, and is an absolutely fantastic technical fighter who can take on people far stronger than himself. Even though he has these qualities, he is still a very humble character who is ready to serve. You know, he doesn't want to be waited upon hand and foot. He doesn't want to be hero worshipped. All he wants to do is the right thing. And that's exactly the essence of Superman. It really is. And I think that what makes, as I think I mentioned at the start of this video, what makes Superman Superman is not just his powers, it's the fact that his personality is so appealing, his character traits are so appealing. He's the kind of character that, you know, if you see him floating down from the sky and he sort of like lands on the pavement, you would feel very comfortable approaching him. Even though he is such an immensely powerful being, you wouldn't necessarily hesitate because he's such a loving character. Captain America is exactly that. He is exactly that. He's the kind of character that you can genuinely hero worship, and if you're ever to meet your hero, you wouldn't be disappointed. And look, I'm not going to go into the history and bio of Captain America. I mean, he's the kind of character that, like, I think most people, and certainly people who are listening into this, will be aware of. Uh, but yeah, Steve Rogers, Captain America, they genuinely personify all that is good and decent about superheroes in the Marvel Universe. And God, we need more characters like him. I genuinely feel we need more characters like Captain America. Uh, what a great character! What a great character, and what a great presentation of the character in the MCU. You know, I've not always been a fan of the MCU's interpretation of my childhood superheroes. I'm not. I think what they've done with Thor, what they've done with the Hulk, is rubbish. It's terrible. But what they have done with Captain America, I have absolutely no complaints. I genuinely don't. And you know, look, where they're right, they're right, and where they're wrong, they are wrong. But I think Captain America is definitely a win, not only in the comic book pages, but also in the on-screen presentation. So yeah, I think, in my opinion, the greatest homage, the greatest tribute, the greatest unintentional clone of Superman, because I don't think that Marvel intentionally set out to make Captain America a clone of Superman, right? Completely. The power set is just, it's worlds apart, right? There's no cape. He can't fly. He can't do any of these things. But just from what the character represents, and how good the character is, Captain America gets my vote as being the best version, Marvel version of Superman there is. And that's it, folks. That is my ramble on Marvel Superman. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope it's made sense. And yeah, I'll catch you guys hopefully in the next one. Thanks. Bye.